I want to really take away this idea of like anxiety as the villain. Anxiety has also been a gift in so many areas of my life. So I think it's a really great tool if you can use it as such. And if you can look at it as a tool rather than like, oh my gosh, something I need to get rid of.
Hello, and welcome to the Connect podcast. This show is all about helping you connect to your soul's calling so you can take action on it. Because the sweetest success is a blend of discovering your purpose with the inner drive to bring it to life. I'm Sheila Botello, health coach, lifestyle entrepreneur, and mom of two, best known for my online wellness programs, mentoring, and self-love passion. Listen in for inspiring interviews, solo chats, and Q&A sessions that will move you past overwhelm towards what lights you up. Stop accepting good enough and go for your version of great in your health, business, and relationships. Let's get started. Jennifer Bronsnick is the founder and CEO of The Mindful Family. As an integrative therapist, she's on a mission to empower women to heal from burnout, manage anxiety, and become more resilient. She blends her clinical experience with training in Mental Health Integrative Medicine and is certified as an anxiety treatment professional. She does life with her husband, 3 children, and mother in New Jersey. Jennifer believes that everyone's experience of anxiety is unique, and the solution should be customized to the client's needs and desires. In this interview, we talked about what led her to her work, how anxiety can reveal hidden gifts, the mind-body connection to mental health, tools for raising anxiety-proof kids, how knowing your human design type can reduce overwhelm, and a helpful story about helping her own daughter through an anxious moment. Our conversation revealed so many insightful and practical ways you can navigate uncertain times with more ease and hope for the future. Here it is. Hey, Jennifer, welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad you could be here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I was like so surprised that the invitation came and so happy.
Well, I've been watching your work in a shared group that we're involved in, and you're growing and improving so many people's lives with the work that you do. I would love for you to share what your work is.
I am a licensed clinical social worker. I like to say an integrative therapist because while I'm trained in social work, which is, has its foundation in more traditional therapy modalities, I personally have always found that stifling for my own healing. And so I've always been looking for other tools and resources to support people's mental and physical well-being. I use my social work training and my ability to submit things to insurance, which people sometimes like to be able to do. And I blend that with human design and EFT tapping and nutrition strategies and hair sampling, because those were the things that were really helpful to me in my own healing journey, which is, of course, why we do this work. I struggled specifically with anxiety, and I've been, since I was little on this journey of like, let me understand this. And so everything that helped me, I wanted to share with others. And that's really how I've, ended up where I am today and why I have so many tools in my toolkit. It's because I am always learning and seeking.
You have the practical training and the personal experience that makes it so much more accessible when you're connecting with people, helping them through the various issues that they're facing.
Yeah.
Was it something specific that happened when you were a child that brought on this anxiety, or was it just a way that you were raised?
That's a great question because anxiety is so multifaceted. I think it's important to, if you're a therapist or anybody supporting someone with anxiety, is you have to look at the different levels of it. Of course, there were biological stuff. My parents were anxious. So, was that biological, but also behavioral, that because they were anxious, they parented in a way that was, I say, raising an anxious kid shows what a loving parent you are. Because oftentimes with anxiety, it's the parents that are like, I love you, I comfort you. And they're so supportive and they're so warm and generous and wonderful. And the kid's like, I never want to leave this in safety and security. And so I think, like that was a layer. I had seizures as a kid. So I also felt very like, what if I have a seizure and my parents aren't there? So there was a lot of that fear, of course, that came from that experience. And I was 2 when I had one. And then I was like, I think maybe I was in 3rd grade and I had another one. And then, so it creates this like, oh gosh, what if this happens and I'm alone? So that sort of fear of the what ifs. But then there were lifestyle choices. There was, my diet wasn't great as a kid. I probably didn't keep my blood sugar very stable. I probably wasn't very hydrated. So all these factors play in. But I want to really take away this idea of like anxiety as the villain. Anxiety has also been a gift in so many areas of my life. So I think it's a really great tool if you can use it as such. If you can look at it as a tool rather than like, oh my gosh, something I need to get rid of. Most people have anxiety. It's painful. It's physically, emotionally draining and painful. And so there's this like, I just want to get rid of it. Like, give me a pill, give me the quick fix button. But what they don't also pay attention to is that it's there to help them. It's there to help them experience the world differently. It's there to make them aware of some choices that they're making or ways that they're out of alignment with their true self. And so when you can look at it from that perspective and stop like pushing it away, it like cracks open the door to curiosity, which then allows you like such a different relationship with it. And that's really like, that's what I want, to share with people is that, this is not, anxiety is not our enemy at all.
Well, now I really want to know, what were some of the gifts that anxiety gave you? We are all wondering.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So some of my coping tools were smoking pot, drinking, because it feel like when you go, smoke weed or you, go have a glass of wine in that moment, there's like, like it's an act, like for a moment, anxiety has disappeared. And then the next day, especially we're talking about alcohol. Like I haven't had a drop of alcohol in over 2 years now. And what I realized is the next day, my anxiety was through the roof. Ooh. And so it was like, I didn't want to feel that way. So like, why am I doing this to my body? Like, why am I, trading this one night of, we'll call, disassociation, basically, that was what I was experiencing. This is my personal experience. I can't speak for anyone else, of course. But it was like, it was an escape. And yet the next day it came crashing back at me. It helped me notice my caffeine use, because the more caffeine you use, the more anxious you feel. It made me change my diet and lifestyle, because foods and gut health impact feeling anxious. It got me to stop smoking pot because it started to make me feel anxious. So what if I hadn't had anxiety? Like, what if I was just like a chill, like, whatever, it's all good. Like, who knows, like where I would be today? Like, would I have, had the family? Would I have had the career that I love? Like, I love so much what I do. I love talking about anxiety and supporting people and helping them to see that it's all about your values and the things you want in your life. And that's, the gift, I think, is to be able to now have, like you said, like I've had the experience. I know it feels terrible. I know you want like to be like, go away. Like, I don't want to feel this anymore. I also know it made me a good student. It made me study. It made me get up in the middle of the night when I heard a little peep from my little baby. That anxiety wakes you up. So I think that like anxiety is not going anywhere. So you might as well embrace it. Just don't let it be in charge.
Love that. Yes. Finding ways to live with it and live harmoniously with it and look for the gifts behind it. I've never
Yeah.
heard anyone speak about anxiety in such a way. And I think that's really beautiful. And it feels like in your uncovering of what was causing the anxiety, in your learning, in your awareness, you were able to not only just cope with it, but also it's not at the forefront now. And you're so right. I think this year has pointed out for so many of us that anxiety and all of these types of emotions that we feel are uncontrollable are going to pop up from time to time. And
Yeah.
circumstances are going to change how we handle our lives. So the question is not so much if you're going to get anxiety at some point, but it's more how will you handle it and what are your coping
Mhm.
mechanisms and how are you planning ahead of time by building in really great
Yeah.
practices. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Yes, self-care prior to your awakening was using pot, alcohol. That was kind of your self-care to kind of
Yeah.
diminish those feelings. What does self-care look like to you now? Because I'm all about self-care. Cyclical self-care is my jam. I
Yeah.
love to hear what women are doing and men as well to ground themselves,
Yeah.
especially now during these times.
So right now, and this answer is different depending on, cyclical seasons. So it's different depending on what's happening in my life. Right now, I am feeling called to explore different perspectives as part of my self-care. So I've been doing a lot of learning. Like I've been taking a lot of classes. I've been doing a lot of reading. I've been doing a lot of researching and listening to podcasts from people that I hadn't listened to before, and sort of like deepening my knowledge feels like self-care to me because it makes me even as a kid I was always like that. Like I was always with the book. I love alone time. My human design type is a projector, so projectors, they need to find their joy and then the invitations come. Be themselves, and then they'll get the right people in their life. And, it just makes me feel relaxed. Like something about like being in a classroom is like the most relaxing, self-caring thing I can do. The other things that are like non-negotiable for me are getting at least 8 hours of sleep every single night, being in nature, ideally, early in the morning, like going outside by, 7 a.m. I really try to work with my circadian rhythm as much as I can. So trying to get up on the earlier side, but going outside without sunglasses on so I can, get all my hormones rebalanced. So my melatonin, knows when to come out and my cortisol knows when to go up and down. Every day I start my day with warm water and Celtic gray sea salt. So I put like a teaspoon of salt in the water. And what I've noticed is with the stress, my sodium burns up faster. And so really having, and I know this also because I do my own hair, my hair mineral test. So I test my hair to see where my main 4 minerals are at, because that is a huge, that impacts a lot of our areas of health, is our calcium, our potassium, magnesium, and sodium. And so when those are out of whack, either, too high, too low, right now I'm in a slow state. So, adding in the magnesium and the sodium and then lowering my calcium is, what I'm kind of focusing on right now. But I noticed once I start doing it, I was having some heart palpitations. They're gone. Like it was just my sodium. Like, and so, and I not just any salt, it has to be Celtic gray sea salt, like not Himalayan salt. So you really want to get the right thing. And it's from the ocean. There's tons of minerals in it. So it's not just like sodium. Now it varies. Some days I'm busy. Some days I'm running around with my kids. Last week I was on vacation in Lake George. So my self-care there was like, I'm going to go in the water every day. I'm going to look at the mountains and the greenery, and I'm going to breathe in my microbiome in a new environment. Try to go with what my body's telling me, and I listen. And then I adjust. So it's not like I have to do this routine. I'm more fluid.
That's lovely. We talk about cyclical rhythms, being part of nature, and also you and I being women. Things are going to ebb and flow all the time. So, why would we have the exact
Yes.
same experience every single day? It really bodes well for us to do something different each day. Thank you for sharing the details about your self care and the fact that it is going to change from time to time. It's going to change with the seasons and how you're feeling each month. It is really interesting to see how you can get out of balance and then just a few little tweaks get you right back into balance. But that only
Yes.
happens when you're aware of what your baseline level of health is. And that includes your mental health. That involves doing some inner work. When you're working with people, what practices do you have them start or build up to for their own inner awareness of what's going on in their life?
We always start where they're at. Do you feel alive by your contribution? Like you said, you need the self awareness to know, like, this isn't working. This relationship, my role as a mom, something in my life is calling for attention, which is why I'm experiencing discomfort. And then, being able to sit with that for a second and just kind of assess the baseline, like bottom level of what I'm teaching is really just about mindfulness, which is be aware of what's happening without judging it. Like, don't try to fix it right now. Sometimes, it fixes itself. Sometimes you need more knowledge, you need more information. And a lot of what I do is psychoeducation because a lot of people don't know how anxiety works in the body. So they have given it so much power, like as if it's life threatening. So I do a lot of teaching. A lot of teaching about like, okay, this is what anxiety does in the body. It shuts down your digestion. It quickens your breathing. Your brain stops working. You get tingly. You might have racing heart. And a lot of times they think that they're sick when it's really their fight flight response is getting triggered. I think that's healing in itself is also, that this is a collective thing. Like you're not alone with these feelings. We all were built with this system to keep us safe. And then sometimes it gets out of whack because our spirit is sad. Our body is not healing. Our relationships are not fulfilling. Our work is not working. And then it allows us to say, okay, I know this. I'm gathering the information. And I trust that when the timing is correct, that I will have the strength to make this change. Because sometimes I work with people and they don't make change right away. They don't take the step right away. And that is totally fine. Like I am not in control of anybody else's journey. Sometimes you just need the support and information. And then in 6 months, you're like, you hear something on a podcast and then it clicks and then you're ready. So I'm not rushing anybody's journey. But I do believe in getting the knowledge so that when the timing is right and you feel like, the moon is full or you're the right part of your cycle, that yes, like now I'm ready to drink more water or to start tapping, start doing EFT, which is something I teach, or start doing heart math, which is another tool that I use. We do it in session, but a lot of times they won't do it at home until something happens. And it's like, oh yeah, I have this.
Yeah, you probably find also that when people are getting adequate sleep, a lot of their anxiety is waylaid as well. With so many people who might be working from home, they're probably working harder and it's harder for them to turn things off. It's harder for them to get the sleep that they need and actually have a whole sleep program that addresses all of that as well.
Great.
It's just so necessary. I talk a lot about soul-driven wellness, soul-driven living, really. What is driving you? What is your big reason for the passion that you have behind your work? I know obviously your personal experience and the feeling of freedom that you've received from it is helpful. What is the greater purpose that you have guiding your work from this point forward?
This drive to make a creative contribution to humanity, to leave something behind that my kids can be proud of. I wrote a little workbook for new moms a couple of years ago. I could see, if they have children to say, and if for some reason, I'm not here, it's like, oh, like here is this gift that I've left for you. This wisdom that I've gleaned from living through the pain, surviving through the pain. And so I think that, in my human design chart, I have a defined G center, which is the seat of the soul. It gives you the sense of direction. And the two channels that are in there that are connected are the 8 and the 1, which is all about expressing creativity. I love coming up with new ideas and new ways to serve. I think I'm driven more by contribution and learning too. Like my curiosity, if you ever do the VIE strengths assessment, curiosity is like my top strength. And so, it allows me to stay curious. It allows me to stay open. So I look at, that drive as a lifelong learner, and then hopefully it benefits other people. Hopefully the millions of hours I've spent studying and learning and different strategies, and, that it comes back. So, my clients, my children, people in my family can benefit from all of that in some way.
Absolutely. And you talk about your kids. I would love to see, what is your family dynamic? What's your family?
Yeah. In my home, my mom lives with us and with my husband and and we have 3 children. So I have a 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And so we've been together for the last, 6 months. So right now I'm in the attic, which was my husband's office while he was still working from home. And now he's out back in the world a little bit more that we're opening up. So I come up here. I also have a space, my own office, but honestly, it's just easier to come upstairs. Thankfully, my mom helps a lot. So she's with the kids right now. She'll, help with the laundry. So we really try to work together. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. There's always, challenges and frustrations, but I think we all love each other and we all value each of our individuality and try to make sure that everybody's getting what they need, whether it's alone time or time away. I'll bring in babysitters too. I have someone that cleans twice a month, so that helps too. That's self-care to me. Having a clean space is helpful. And I have 2 dogs, a lizard, and a fish. I just got a puppy also. I got a puppy in April.
Oh, deal.
Yeah. So it's like, there's a lot happening.
Well, you look so rested and joyful. And I think it's beautiful.
Thank you.
You've got all these tools and it's helping you live your life and your purpose and raise a family and all of these things under one roof. You look refreshed, and that's amazing. That's saying a lot. So many women don't invest in their self-care, and that is what leads to health issues down the road. It leads to relationship struggles, and it leads to communication barriers, and probably even more anxiety, because they're trying to keep this perfect picture of what life should look like and carrying it all on their shoulders. Also, being a mother and having children and having been an anxious child, how have you been teaching your children? What kind of different tools have you given them? Or does it look different for a child than it does for an adult dealing with anxiety? You have programs and specific tracks for anxious children. And right now, I'm sure you're very, very busy helping people with this because of the uncertainty that we've been facing. So talk to me about that.
When I talk about anxiety to kids, and this is from my teacher, Lynn Lyons, and she's fantastic. She had taught me about using this language of the worry part. It's being able to pull out versus that, like, you're an anxious child. No, you are an awesome kid with a worry part. And that worry part is saying, you can't do it. You're not smart enough. You're not going to understand. You can't take care of yourself. And it's like the annoying, naggy, or kid that you don't really like on the playground. That's this worry part. And so once you can acknowledge and pull that out, so a couple instances. My daughter, she's like, every time I go to the orthodontist, like my stomach hurts. To be able to say like, oh, that's just your worry part. Your worry part's talking, your stomach shuts down. So of course you get a tummy ache. Your heart sometimes beats fast. So it's like, oh, of course this is what it is. So you're not giving so much weight, like, oh, are you okay? Let me hug
Right.
you. Let me make sure you're okay. So let me give attention to you when your worry part showing up, which then sort of like, ooh, if they were in need of attention, and then it's like, oh, when I say this, like mom, stops everything and, comes to me, versus being like, okay, on your way, let's go. And it seems mean. It seems counterintuitive that you wouldn't want to like coddle and give hugs to an anxious person because there could be tears. It can be intense. You want to do this education with your kids before it shows up. Because then it's like, okay, when the worry part shows up, we're going to talk back to the worry part. We're going to take 5 square breaths. We're going to rub our hands together and pay attention to our hands. We're going to see if we can turn the gravity up a little bit and see if the gravity can pull us back down. I always believe every parent should have this knowledge because it will happen. Your kid will have an anxious moment. And if you do not have the tools, you will feel like, oh my God, what's happening? But you will feel so confident and your kid will thrive because you were there in that moment to give them those tools. It's anxiety. We're not going to even listen to this. It's not a big deal. Everybody has it. We're going to normalize it. Then we're going to keep moving forward. You have to take action. Anxiety, it grows when you stay home. So you have to go on offense with it. It's like, what don't they want to do? Okay, guess what we're doing? My daughter doesn't want to go on the escalator. Guess where we're going? And it's not like I'm not pulling her. I'm loving, I'm kind. And I'm telling her, like, I'm here with you. I know you can do this. And let's go. And we step on and we go up the escalator, even though she didn't want to. And her heart's racing and she's not happy with me. And then we're going to do it again. And then we're going to go look for other escalators out in the world. And we're going to keep doing that because what happens over time is that these new experiences, when it's first new, we have this curve and it goes really high up and then it comes back down. But every single time, once we have the tools, we know what this is, it's going to go up, but it's not going to go as high. And every time it gets lower and lower and lower. And our goal is never, ever to get rid of feelings, to get rid of bad feelings. It is to feel better. It's to embrace all the feelings. And that's what we want our kids to be able to handle. And there is a lot of shadow that is coming up so that we can address it and deal with it and look at ourselves and look at our own shadow stuff. So we need our kids to be resilient. If you are resilient, I don't care what your grades are. It's more about that internal sense of, I can figure it out. Yes, anxiety's there. What's my value? What do I want? What is a beautiful life? What does that look like for me?
Thank you so much for sharing about these practical ways of talking to your children and walking them through anxious feelings. I've always been the type of person dealing with anyone, even adults, to not label ourselves because labels can be so destructive or give us false confidence too. If it's a positive thing, great. But these negative labels can tear us down. With my own kids through their younger years as they were trying new things, it was always that hand holding through it. And hey, let's face it head on. Let's not ignore the feeling. Let's talk about the feeling, but let's not let it take us out. That was a really beautiful example of what it could look like. Let's go find more escalators. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And that's going to help them have more resilience as they go through the new experiences. Like you say, perhaps leaving their hometown to go to school. It's a big world, but there's so much beauty in it. And even during these times, there is opportunity and there's a time for creativity and we get to choose how we want to progress. So let's do it from a place of feeling empowered. And so human design, I have looked into human design a little bit over the last few years. I'm something projector.
So there's a generator, manifesting generator.
That's what I am. I'm a manifesting generator. Yeah.
Okay. Projector manifestor and reflector. And I look at human design from my perspective with my clinical training. I look at it as a self-awareness and compassion tool, because it can tell you every time I do a reading. I just did one this morning. It's like a person is finally seen. All the things they thought was wrong or different about them, it's like, no, this is who you were designed to be. You were put on this earth at this exact moment in time with these gifts and challenges. That's the whole journey, is to ride both of them. I love that conversation. And I love when a parent understands their kid from that perspective and they stop judging them. And they can see, oh, like this is how they need to be loved. This is how I need to communicate with them, versus this global perspective of this is how we do parenting. No, we are all unique. We all have different goals, needs, ways we make decisions, ways we get clarity, ways that we're empathetic or that we feel the world in big ways or not. It gives you a tool for making decisions, which is the other piece I love about it. Our minds are not the best place for decisions because we have a tendency to have a negativity bias. We are anxious. We sometimes are depressed, but your gut, your soul, if you can decide from that place, each type has a unique strategy for decision making. And then it's just following that and watching how life unfolds in a much easier way.
When you know what your natural tendencies are, it helps you know immediately where you need to call in help also, because somehow in this world of opportunity we live in, particularly in North America, we think, well, we can do it all. And that is how we get burnt out. So how about we start asking for help in the areas where it's not our number one strength? And hey, we were all designed to live in community. That's something that's the reason why I love connecting with people, is because we're all so different. We all need each other, and we need to ask for help, not only to help ourselves, but to help someone else express their gifts more fully. It's really a beautiful thing when someone's operating in their gift and they're not using all their time on things that's not serving them, that they're okay at doing, but it's keeping them small. It's keeping them from doing the work they were meant to be doing in this world. I would love for you to tell us where people can follow you and how they can work with you and what kind of clients you're taking on right now. Tell us.
I'm in New Jersey. So because I'm licensed as a social worker, I am only taking one-to-one clients in New Jersey, and I'm also licensed in Florida. Those are like the two places. However, on my website, there's tons of classes, resources. I have programs, my Anxiety Proof Kids program. I have it's called Thriving Mama, which is a program that walks you through healing from burnout based on your human design, and also looking at, like you said, sleep, nutrition, all these different strategies. It's jenniferbronsnick.com.
I'm so grateful that you were able to take time out from your busy schedule to be with me today, to be here on the podcast, and to share something that is so important for people to be hearing right now, all about how to embrace their human design and to impact their anxiety by not just shunning it away, but learning how to live with it and disempowering it as a result. That was a huge aha for me that you brought. So thank you so much for that. And I look forward to staying in touch in our group and in other ways as well.
Definitely.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much for the invitation.
Thank you so much for being here with me on the Connect podcast. If you like this episode, please share it with someone you think would enjoy it. Also, if you head over to iTunes to leave a review, I'd be so grateful. Let us know what your favorite parts were and what you'd like to hear more of. It will help us have a greater impact, elevating many more people to grow and succeed together. See you next time.